Hey everyone! So this is the extended version of the 8 steps to buy a property. So jumping straight into it, step 1, we had bank and pre-approval. So in this, you would book your appointment with either a bank manager or a broker, and this is where you'll find out your borrowing capacity. So this really just means how much you can actually spend on the purchase of your property that you're looking at. So second step is to research, monitor the market, and to inspect properties. So this has a few different steps in this one. So the first thing would be to speak to agents and get an idea on what's been selling in the market in that particular area that you're looking in at purchasing. A good tip is to compare sold properties to on the market properties, so it can give you an idea on what the prices are doing at that current moment. Also, due to changing prices so rapidly within Sydney, it's good to go back for recent sales within the last 3 months. So you can do that on realestate.com.au. That's definitely a good way to have a look there. Also, you will need to determine when you are having a look at what has recently sold, if they're of lesser value or more value than the property that you would be interested in buying. So say, for example, if there was a property that looks very similar to the one you're interested in that recently sold 2 months ago, sold for $600,000 and was on a smaller land size than the property that you're looking at, we would class that as a lesser merit than the property that you would be looking at. So if that sold for 600, then you give or take that this property would be worth a little bit more, just as an example. Same thing with like renovations. If a property has been renovated, it could make that value of it increase. If the property you're looking at is not renovated and you would need to spend some money, then you would take that into account as well. Step 3, submit your offer. So when submitting your offer, real estate agents will usually tell you to submit it via either email or text message. Usually it's good to do it in writing. There is a few factors also to consider when submitting that offer. So you should already have a rough guide as to what price you're thinking based on the research that you've already done. There's 2 more things to think about is the interest on the property from other buyers and what the owner will actually take. So the interest from other buyers, you might be able to see if you've attended the open house. Just speak to the real estate agent to get a feel for if there's any other offers that have been submitted so far. They'll be able to guide you on that. Also too, as to what the owner is actually looking to take, like if there is a price range advertised, the agent might be able to narrow that down a little bit more for you. The other point that I wanted to mention is just there's 2 usually different types of buyers. So it's either that you're buying with your head or you're buying with your heart. So investors will buy with their head and owner occupiers will buy with their heart. So we tend to find that owner occupiers will usually spend a little bit more on the property because they fall in love. They can envision their families to live in that house, so they will be happy to spend a little bit extra money. For investors, it's a little bit different. They're basing it all off numbers. So once you've submitted your offer, the next step is negotiations. So this period can usually take between 24 to 72 hours. There are quite a few factors that will come into the time difference on this as well. So this is purely just when both parties can come to an agreement on the price. So say, for example, as well, if there is a lot of interest on that property that you're looking at and you've submitted the offer on, the time period for the negotiations can be dropped. Sometimes we can negotiate within, that 1 day on Saturday after the open house, so it can be shortened to about 3 hours as an example. So just keep that in mind as well. Almost there. So this is the 5th step. This is the offer acceptance and the signing of the contract of sale for both parties. So it's usually exciting for both the buyer and the seller because everything's about to happen. So usually we will need, from an agent's perspective, the buyer's full name, address, and whether they'll be using a solicitor or conveyancer, and we'll need those details as well. Then you'll pay 0.25% deposit of the purchase price. So this is purely to secure the property, but do keep in mind as well that the property isn't secured to you, even though you've paid a deposit and signed a contract, until the owner signs the contract of sale as well. So once all is signed and everything is paid, that's when you'll enter your cooling off period as well. So usually that's between 5 to 10 business days. During this period is when the bank will order the valuation on the property and your solicitor will organise the pest and building inspection to be done for you. Which brings us to step 6, the valuation and the pest and building inspection report. So in this, the valuation is actually a qualified valuer that's sent out from the bank, and sometimes they can do either a full inspection of the property or just do it online, where they'll provide the bank with a report as to what the property's value is, they will do it similar to how real estate agents do it as well, but will take the contract of sale price into consideration with that as well. Just something to remember is that valuations can sometimes fall short. So this is sometimes a common thing, that the valuer will value the property less than what your purchase price is. So if this does happen to you, I would definitely recommend just speaking to your bank manager or your broker about it. They'll definitely be able to give you some further advice on that, as it is a financial circumstance there. Then a pest and building inspection report will be done as well. So in a building report, what's determined in this is it's to uncover any structural, conditional or design defects or any problems that are within the interior or the exterior of the house itself. Also, the pest component of it is pretty straightforward. So if there's any termites or anything major in terms of the pest side of it. A good thing to keep in mind with these pest and building inspection reports is that they are designed to give you a list full of defects for the property. So it's really not there to tell you how great of a property you've just purchased. It's made to give you all the bad stuff. So the main thing to think about is just to have a look through it, and if there's just minor things, if it's an older house, it's gonna have wear and tear things, which are common to have in 20-year-old plus properties. If the main thing you want to look out for is the major things, so like termites or any major structural damage, that's what you want to have a look out. And sometimes I would recommend maybe getting like a qualified person to come out, give you a quote, to at least give you an idea on what the costs of fixing something major could be. Step 7 is pay your 5 or 10% deposit and cool off. So in this period, we class this as going unconditional, which really just means it's sold. So once you pay that 5 or 10%, the only thing left to do after this step is to really wait until settlement. The only thing that will happen between that time frame is a real estate agent will organize a final inspection for you. So with that final inspection, that's really to go back through the house and make sure it's still in the same condition as what it was when you first saw it. Also, what will happen is the owner that was living in there or the tenant that was in there would have moved out by then. So it'll be a good chance to have a look behind where their furniture was and make sure you can see the property for what it really is. So usually on average, this will take 6 weeks. That's the usual time frame for the settlement time. So we've made it to the 8th and final step, which is settlement day. So this is the most exciting day for buyers. It's when they get to pick up their keys, start moving. So usually very exciting. That's pretty much everything. So there was a lot of information that I covered throughout all those steps. So if you do have any questions, feel free to message me or comment. And I hope this was some good information and would definitely help, whether it be your first or 8th purchase. Hopefully you can get some good information out of it. Thanks very much.